Welcome to and.double, your go-to podcast for candid conversations. Dive deep with us into the heart of life's challenges, business hurdles, and the journey to better ourselves. Join us in exploring the art of living intentionally, finding balance, and enhancing not just your life, but your business and leadership skills. It's time to grow, to inspire, and to lead, and.double. Conversations that transform. Welcome back to Double D Do Business. We're finally back, and I'm Dave Evans.
And I'm Debbie Halls-Evans.
Now, for those of you listening, we literally just did our first retake of this new season, and we didn't even say who we were a few minutes ago. So, it just goes to show anyone can be rusty at any given time, and we are so glad to be back, though. So, Debbie, we've got loads to go through in this slightly shorter episode of the podcast, but I believe we're going to be calling it a new name.
We are. So part of our exciting news and part of season 5 is our new business, and it's called And.
Now, so we're going to talk about that.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about a method for somebody to think through on anything that you're doing this week, today, this year. We're going to talk to you about what And also means as something you can do to take action. And then ask you a few questions about meaning, Debbie, what your meaning is and my meaning, etc. And then tell you about the season coming up and how it links to the republishing, rewritten, brand new version of Leadership or Leadershit, the book, which was finally finished.
Yeah, really
at the end of 2023.
Yeah. And we're doing a big launch. It's actually a year-long launch, so we're going to do something really different with it this year.
And it doesn't matter how many times you mention that subject. Some people don't like the fact we're calling it out. Lots of people love it. There's no in between. But I really like the fact that everybody knows somebody who perhaps doesn't even know themselves that they might be on the wrong side of that leadership line. So whenever you talk to them, which is really interesting. So let's talk about And. Debbie, from your perspective, why And?
So one of the things about setting up a brand new business and what makes it so exciting is that when you sit down and you just look at where you've been, what you've done, what you've achieved, it's super exciting. And we realised, that 20 years of coaching is that you have a limited amount of time as a coach with individuals. This is my perspective. Dave will have a different story. But my perspective is that we have a limited amount of time as coaches, and what we want to do and what we've always wanted to do is influence more, impact people positively more. And we've discovered that And, our new business, And coaching, can really do that.
Well, I'm going to take, as Debbie said, a slightly different tact. For me, And is all about meaning. It's all about having meaning in your day, having meaning in your mind, having meaning in the things that you do, and even sometimes the most mundane things. How do you put a little bit more purpose into those moments? And, we have always been talking about intentionality. And is entirely that. And like Debbie said, we also think, as we've always worked, and we are really, really closely in the one-on-one, influence the one to influence the many.
Yeah.
We want to give the many a chance to influence themselves.
And I think there's so much to it. I think And it's a very generic word, but it has so much context. So And can, from an individual person, bring their own perspective to it. And is the most amazing coaching question.
Yeah.
So And is our overall new business. And then we have a new arm. I don't know if that's the right word, but we have a new part of that called And Coaching. And this is we're going to be sharing with you. We've got lives going. You're going to see this all over our socials. But And Coaching is something really unique. And this is how we bring it to many and really excite and do something that Dave and I have always wanted to do, and is to give more, just continuously give more. So And Coaching, very simply, Dave nearly sighed then because I was rambling, but And Coaching is daily coaching, weekly coaching, monthly and quarterly. And we've called it hybrid layered coaching.
Oh, you can tell that we're doing a live after this podcast.
We are doing a live.
But let's stick to the word And for a minute. Right? People can learn about those things in their own time. I also think And, when you're in business or in life and you find yourself coming to a conclusion moment in a thought. Imagine you're in a meeting, for example, and you're asking somebody to solve a problem, and then you're coming to the conclusion moment. And is also a really great self-coaching word before you actually conclude and go, and is there anything else we've actually not considered on this? And I find the one thing that people mostly miss.
What's that, Dave?
The total polar opposite perspective.
Yes.
And I think and is it's like playing Monopoly. It's, when you get sent to jail in Monopoly, and you hope
we love Monopoly.
Yeah, you're going around the board, Debbie, and you maybe play community or chance, and you get one of these out of jail cards. I think and is also an out of jail card, because if you haven't thought about the other person's perspective before you're done in anything that you're doing, and is the question you should be asking.
So just to allow and maybe slickly move into the next section that we want to just share with you is one of the things that we've built around and if you do know us and you've worked with us for years, you'll know that my role in the business is to pretty much download Dave's brain and make it into a tangible product that everybody understands.
I thought you were going to say make it into a tangible brain.
No. It's a very good brain. So what Dave's created is he's really streamlined how to get things done. So, and as we know, Dave likes acronyms and he likes little formulas. So we've got you. I know you are, but I'm just sharing it. So M plus S plus Y equals M. So that's the thing that you're going to hear a lot about through all our and what we do. But this is about having a method. Using skills.
In this new podcast, are we allowed to talk about other brands, Debbie?
Of course.
Yeah. So. This formula came around because we were talking to VSI Education, when we the executive sports program, and we were looking to explain
we work with footballers and football businesses.
We were looking to explain how do you give somebody the tools to present well, and then we realised this formula not only answered that question, but it also answered that anything you want to do well, right? This formula. It's not an acronym; it's a formula.
I did say it was a formula.
I know you did, yeah. It's going to help you do that, and we're going to pick 2 letters each. I'll do the letter M, like you were just saying. M is method. So whatever you're doing today, have a think about what your method is. Are you using one? Should you be using one? What's the next letter, Debbie?
S, it stands for skills, and this is about either enhancing what you've already got, or tapping into something that you've learned something before but you've never used it. Or it's about building a new skill.
It is, and for me, it's about use a skill rather than instinct. So, I often see people in the skill place using things they've always done, and this is about practicing a skill you want to hone or be better. And then the why, Debbie, what's the why about?
Are you going to answer the question yourself as well afterwards?
Yeah.
The why is you, and I think
Good point.
Yes, thank you. And the why is you, and ultimately, what we've always coached is that it's always about you and the individual putting the application into place. So what is my method? What is my skill? It only comes from you, right? Coaching works when the person sits there and has the ability to reflect on self and what is it that I can do about this? So the why is you.
Yeah, so you put these 2 together, a method plus a skill plus you do the inside work, and it produces something after the equals.
It produces magic.
Magic.
Yes.
Yep.
And this is the exciting thing for us. We've been doing, and it's something that we are sharing with and coaching, is we should be continuously curious. We shouldn't be anything, actually. We to enjoy things.
Didn't you do a dialogue?
I did say you shouldn't use the word should.
No, any language is plausible.
Yes.
Any
in this
language,
context, though.
Yeah, but any language has a positive and a negative iteration,
yes.
right? So should, in the positive iteration, as a question, should I do something, is useful. And I actually think, should you use a method, skill, and you to create magic? I think you possibly should.
Okay. Well, I'm not a lover of the word should, because I do think societally, whatever that word is I was trying to say, is that it can have the negative connotations. But the point I was expressing was I've completely deleted now. Thanks for that.
It's my pleasure. Anyway, magic is, of course, what most things are about. We all want moments, coming back to and again. We all want some form of meaning, something memorable, and that's what that process is for.
So I just want to make sure that we link this together and we share something of huge value to you. So think about what we talked about right at the beginning, the reason why we set up and it's also about different perspectives. And Dave also gave you a really great highlight that if you use the word and, so in a meeting or when you're working something out, different perspectives, which is called a method, is called perceptual positioning.
Yeah.
And you can use this to actually put yourself in the other person's shoes. It's such a powerful thing to do. So when you're attempting to work something out, or whether you're in a situation that you're not sure, make sure that you do put yourself in the other person's perspective. And there's 4 perspectives, isn't there, Dave, that you can use with and.
Yes, there is, Debbie.
That was called the hospital path.
There's perspective 1, somebody who totally agrees with your way of thinking.
Yep, so pro.
Yeah, there's perspective 2, that's someone who totally disagrees with your way of thinking. And then the third one is someone who's on the fence, that if you get your influence right, they might fall on your side or even fall on the other side. So what would they consider important to change their view? And then the final one's one of my favorites. You can say this in lots of naughty ways, but I'll say it professionally today, is they just don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter what you do, they don't really care. So what are those 4 perspectives? And using and to make sure that you consider them is just a really good idea.
So if we apply M plus S plus Y equals magic, let's just say that. So the method is perceptual positioning.
Yeah.
Understanding and what would this be in somebody else's thoughts or position. The skill then is doing it. The skill is learning and practicing. And this takes time, right? Everything feels clunky when you start something new. So the skill is, have I used my method of and then you're doing it, that's the why. And the magic is what then happens afterwards. When you start to see better quality conversations, better decision making, supporting you, you just feel, actually what it does do is, well, I nearly did the do thing. What it does is it allows you to have that kind of sense of control, a little bit of calm. You're not rushing into things. You're actually really quite, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a moment. Considered intentional.
Yeah, the intentional.
Let's be more intentional.
Yeah. And the thing I like about this is it's a really good form of mental preparation. And I believe mental preparation, so taking the time to prepare in your head, visualizing, etc., is the cure to hindsight. So I think if you do this kind of thing, you won't be sitting there afterwards going, oh, I wish I did this, because you'd have seen it, you'd have noticed it, and therefore you'll have acted. And that's what we want to move on to next, is that the other thing about and is also a secret formula for taking action.
It's not a secret.
I know, it's going to be a public formula, right? Now, we wanted to give you a coding system. So and is about meaning, and is about asking that question, what's missing, the perceptual positioning, Debbie. It's about what's your meaning. It's also 3 words to help you take action. And throughout the D-logs in our and coaching, which you'll find out more about later on in our links and on our live feeds, we also turn action into the and. Sorry, what am I talking about? We turn the word and into action.
Yes.
And the A stands for action, the N stands for now, and the D, you're all going to love this, is do something different. How many people want to change something? They do the action, they do the now, it doesn't work, and they don't do something different.
And then apply this back again, and we'll keep repeating this because this is how we learn and this is how we practice new skill that is a method as well. So A&D, have I taken action? What am I going to do now? What am I going to do different? Means that you've already got a new method as well that you just apply, skill, and then you will see things different. That's the magic. So we have thought about this. This has been a long time coming. The past 12 months, 2023 for us was definitely a year of consideration, reflection, introspection as well, and actually our legacy and what we want to do in the future. So we hope you're going to enjoy it as much. Now, 2 things left.
And double D.
And double D. Well, yes, we are double D. Is the book. So why did we rewrite it, Dave? Let's talk about leadership.
The reason we rewrote that book is that it was my first effort in the book space, and I rushed it for a conference.
Yes.
And I like my framework book, love it, right? Yeah. Practical, pick it up, do a bit of it, put it down, right? It's really useful. And it was like looking at both the books and going, yeah, that other one's not quite the same. And leadership has changed so much, even since 2017. Mm-hmm. You know, business has changed so much. And yet there's much more of the second part of the book, the leadership in business today, than there ever has been. And I also think employees, it's really hard. They're asked to do so much more.
And I think there's something really exciting about the book. So we work with Rachel Rowley, who is our head of partnerships and also an incredible copywriter. And what we have done is we knew the content was brilliant, the 8 Faces of Leadership and how you can challenge yourself and you can use it to really help to self-measure. And what Dave's also done this time is he's interviewed clients that we've worked with, new and existing, and people that we don't work with anymore, but we have great working relationships with, and actually let them choose a face of leadership and how they apply it in their real life. And I think this is important. What we do is, and what we read, we love reading, well, I do particularly, is
as we remember in that Double D episode where you told us that you were a vivacious reader.
I was, instead of voracious.
Voracious.
Ferocious. Right. Or whatever the word was, named deleted again.
You were an aggressive reader back then.
So let's go back to leadership and leadership. So the difference is that we now know... Are you a
calm reader today?
No, I'm not. Now is that real life is how we learn best. And understanding how other people apply things, because it's not one size fits all. And I think sometimes we get so stuck in that competing. So leadership, we're going to be doing a series on it in the podcast. So we're going to go through every single face, what it actually means, how that applies to you. So kind of taking the audio book that little bit further and playing around with it.
The audio book?
Well, that's my lovely accent.
Now, let's reiterate what you just said. So you asked me, why did we rewrite it? So there's a couple of other things that you made me think about today. One is that we've taken the debate over leadership or leadership off the table, right? So when we're describing, leadership problems in various parts of the book, if you've got that problem, it is leadership, right? So it's the result of something else that hasn't been done well, right? So that's not a debate anymore. And then the other thing is, in these interviews, and I'm really excited about this season's podcast being about this, is we're also going to talk to those people again and new guests and ask, new guests, what do you think about leadership or leadership in the debate and why is it important? And we're going to find out in the people in the interviews what's actually gone on since then. Yeah,
because the books took over a year, and I think understanding how that is what's changed for people, what's different. And I think one of the things that Dave reflected back on was, what is that evolution of leadership? There's Leadership 2.0. We're not going to tell you the secrets about it yet. We'll talk about that through the season. But I think it's important that, this whole ability of being more self-aware, being more reflective, and then seeing what different is. And I think the learning, well, I definitely got this from redoing the book, was that there is no right or wrong. It's what you're doing in the now, which takes us straight back to and again. What is the action I'm doing? What am I going to do now? And what am I going to do different? And I think everything we do is so together.
I got one leadership thing people can start doing different.
All right, go
today.
For it.
So, we don't want to give Leadership 2.0 away, but there's one part of it I think takes so much headspace to get ready to do. So, if you're a leader listening to this, there's one question I'd like you to get your head around, and it's this one. Asking the people that work for you, how do you need to change? And that is a big question. Some people, it'll be terrifying. Some people, it'll be, okay, that's easy. But it's not just asking the question. It's then doing it.
Yeah.
It's then using okay, so they've said, etc. Act now, do something different. And I think if you get your head around that one question, you will improve your leadership tenfold overnight. When your people see you meaning what you say and doing it,
it's massive. It changes.
It's the biggest influence.
And that's magic.
Yeah.
Boom! Drop the mic.
Sorry, Dale. One more. We're recording this from Ireland. We're in Dublin.
We are in Dublin.
And we're at Forrest's conference, the software business in Salons. It's been a brilliant experience so far.
Brilliant, yeah.
But one of the things I'll never forget I heard yesterday was from the lady who runs the media business and the Wah nail bars in London. What was her name?
Yes. Shamadine Reid.
Shamadine Reid. She said, when you build a culture or a plan in your business and you involve everyone, it's more likely to succeed. If you build it and tell them, don't be surprised if it doesn't. And I know I rephrased it a little bit, but that is what she said. And that's why asking that leadership question is super important, because your people will believe you. Anyway, so that's enough about leadership or leadership for today. Yeah. Last question is, do you have meaning, coming back to do you have meaning in your day, in your week, in your year?
Well, I think it's not. I was saying I challenge Dave, as you know, continuously just by being married to him. Yes. So I think what I'd like us to talk about is not attach it to a specific year. So I think this is about what is your meaning, and meaning can change in your life as well. This is really important. So let's apply "and" to this. Yeah. So let's be very specific. So what's that meaning for now? What do you want to apply? What action do you want to take for now? And what are you going to do different about it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't realise it was, but yeah, go on.
It sounded like you were. Yeah. I'm absolutely going to take action, Debbie, in this particular coming year, where I'm going to take my fuel gauges to a whole new level and maximise them for personal health reasons.
So if you don't know what the fuel gauges are, we will be explaining those in the next season, but it's a way of self-measurement.
What am I going to do now? I'm absolutely feeling that I'm going to apply techniques of relentlessness to the things we're going to be doing in this first quarter. Somebody told us something recently about when you're building something to last, you work tirelessly and relentlessly until it's done, but you do it once, so that once you've done it, it works properly. The next quarter is entirely about that. That's what and coaching is all about. And to do something different, we learned a new skill yesterday on how to do Instagram stuff.
We did?
Yeah, we did. And how to do that really clever thing where you fade one video into the next.
Transition.
Oh, yeah, that's the one. So I think we're going to do one thing different. We're going to capture moments in our days like that to share with people about how different our days always are. So everything we do in our lives, there's so much going on in any given day. That'd be quite a fun way to show people how diverse it is. From me training to Debbie walking to the design stuff that you do, right the way through to creating things that we've never done before. So that's what I'm going to do different.
Okay, so my meaning is about giving and sharing. And I think I've been very protective about more sharing, I think. But for me, my meaning in the future, our legacy, however you want to look at this, is how do we give first? How do we make sure we do that? And I think and is an epitome of that. I think that is the thing that excites me most about it is we've got a whole exciting element that we can share with you later on in the season. So and is about giving, but also sharing. We've never talked about our clients. We've never talked about our history, so we're going to be really sharing that because it's the real life stuff. When you run your own business, or when you have a family life, or when you're just living with meaning or focused intentionality. We live remotely now in the middle of nowhere. We'll tell you all about exciting stories around Easter Sheen as well. Yeah. But meaning for me is about giving. So the action is I'm going to give first, always, without assumption or presumption. My now is to ensure that we share our moments, really important. So the example of being where we are right now at a conference, sharing with great companies and working with companies that we want to work with.
Yep.
And I think that doing something different for me is me being more intentional in everything that I do. So the difference would be is that I'm going to stop first and then take the action. So yes, that's what I'm going to do. That's my meaning. So the question we ask you, sorry Dave, Dave's like nodding at me. The question we always ask everybody is, what's your and?
And I'd like to answer that question as an example. So it's taken me many years to settle with the fact that I'm an energist. Now, if you've never heard the word energist before, it's because it doesn't exist.
It's a Dave word.
It's a Dave word. And I want to be really clear. I'm not an energizer. So quite often people think, oh, Dave's an energizer. No, I'm not. I've had near-death experiences on multiple occasions, and I'm really grateful that I didn't die, right?
So am I.
Yeah, totally. But on that perspective, I'm sure lots of listeners can relate to that, where they faced into that moment where, wow, that could have gone different. It's happened to me a few times, and therefore I feel almost a compelled responsibility to give the energy in my day back to the world. That's an energist. I don't sit in the morning trying to recharge, but I do take times of recovery and rest.
We are very good at that.
Yeah,
and we will share that as well.
But I'm clear about being an energist. To anyone listening, what if you found a word or even made up your own word about the difference you actually do make, and it captures that meaning, that others see in you too? Because I have to tell you, it makes your day much easier when you know what it is you are, you know what it is you do, and then you spend your time using the method and the skill to do it even better, to create more magic, and then you're putting and into action.
So wrapping up.
Still got the summary, Demi.
Hey, still got it in there. So finishing this little episode and an intro episode is what's your and? And we are really excited about continuing this story and this season with you.
Thank you for joining us again at and.double. We're back. We're back with a vengeance. See you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to and.double. For ongoing inspiration, follow us at and.scott on Instagram and online. Keep going, keep inspiring. Until our next episode.